No matter how many times I think I finally found my path, I always seem to come back to the same question. What if I'm wrong? What if this isn't actually what I should be doing? What if the decisions I've made or the goals I've chased and the person I'm trying to become are all leading me somewhere I don't actually want to go? And the strange thing is, it doesn't take much for me to start questioning everything. One bad day, a small setback, or a small sign that things aren't going exactly how I expected. Suddenly, something I was completely confident in yesterday starts feeling like the biggest mistake I've ever made. A bad video makes me question whether this channel was worth pursuing at all. A small injury makes me wonder whether I chose the wrong sport. And a difficult week makes me question whether all the discipline and effort I've been putting in is actually taking me anywhere. And it's not because I failed, but because maybe I was never on the right path to begin with. I think this is something a lot of people experience. We don't just fear failure. Failure almost makes it easier to understand. If something doesn't work, you can learn from it, you can improve, and then try again. But the more difficult question is, what if I succeed at the wrong thing? What if I spend years working towards something only to realize I never wanted it in the first place? And I think about this a lot with my career because I work a normal job, I study alongside it, and I spend my evenings trying to improve myself, whether that's training, learning, or building something outside of work. And sometimes I'll watch a video online about someone quitting their 9 to 5, going traveling, waking up naturally every day, and building a life around freedom rather than obligations. And it really resonates with me because honestly, that is something I want. I would love more freedom. I would love more control over my time. And I'd love to wake up and decide what my day looks like rather than having most of it decided for me. But I also know that it's not that simple. The internet has a way of making every decision look obvious. Just quit your job or follow your passion and escape the system. But real life is far more complicated than that. And even when you know that, those ideas can leave a thought behind, a small doubt. Have I chosen the wrong career? Sometimes I wonder whether I'm actually working towards something I believe in, or whether I'm just continuing because it's the path I chose when I was just 18 years old. The path that seems sensible, the path that everyone expected. But the person I am now isn't the same person I was when I left school. My priorities have changed, my opinions have certainly changed, and most importantly, the things I value have changed. So naturally, I question whether the choices I made back then still represent who I am today. And honestly, sometimes I do have regrets. There are things I would do differently. There are decisions I would change if I could go back. But I think there is something important we forget when we look back at our past. We judge our old decisions with new information. We look back knowing everything we know today and think, how could I have made that choice? But the version of you who made that decision didn't have today's knowledge. They had different experiences, different priorities, and different circumstances. The decision that looks wrong now may have been the best possible decision you could have made at the time. Yes, hindsight can be useful, it can help us learn, but it can also completely distort reality. It can make us regret choices that actually helped us become who we are. And I think I've experienced this more than ever with this channel. Just last week, I was genuinely questioning whether I should continue. One video didn't perform how I'd hoped, and suddenly I started thinking, maybe this isn't going anywhere, and maybe I'm wasting my time. Maybe I should stop trying to build something meaningful and just make whatever gets views. Maybe I should forget about creating something with my own thoughts and experiences and just make content designed purely for numbers, straight slop content. And honestly, I got closer to that than I'd like to admit. But then I looked back, I read some old comments, I saw people who had connected with the videos, people who had shared their own experiences, people who had taken something from what I'd made. And I realized something. The channel was working and is working. Maybe not at the speed I wanted, not perfectly at all, but it was working. My message was reaching people, and that was the reason I started in the first place. Not for numbers, not just for growth, but because I wanted to create a video that meant something to someone. So I decided to continue, not forever, not because I suddenly had complete confidence, but just continue for another week. And honestly, that week was extremely difficult. I didn't want to make videos, I didn't want to study, and I definitely didn't want to train. Everything I'd been doing started to feel pointless. And maybe there was some truth in those feelings, because I'm not perfect. There are definitely things I could improve. And maybe I was pushing too hard, or I was feeling burnt out. Maybe I just needed to adjust. But I was also experiencing what happens when you spend a long time working towards something difficult. The interesting thing is, I didn't find the answers by stopping. I found it by continuing. I increased my upload frequency for shorts. I focused on improving instead of quitting. And somehow that difficult week created my best performing short yet. And it reminded me why I started. Not because everything was suddenly easy, but because I was still moving forward. And maybe that's the thing we get wrong about finding the right path. We imagine the right path as something that feels obvious, a straight road where every step confirms we're making the correct decision. But I don't think life works like that. Every path has uncertainty, every path has setbacks, every path has moments where you question whether you should turn around. And I think maybe feeling lost doesn't mean you're actually lost, it just means you're paying attention. Maybe questioning yourself is actually a sign that you care about where you're going. The goal shouldn't be to find a path where you never doubt yourself, because that probably doesn't exist. The goal should be becoming someone who trusts themselves enough to keep going even when doubt appears, because every detour teaches you something, every setback gives you information, every wrong turn still moves you forward if you learn from it. So, are you on the right path? I don't know. I'm still asking myself the same question, and maybe that's okay. Maybe the right path isn't the one where you never feel lost. Maybe the right path is the one where, even when you feel lost, you keep walking. Because if you keep moving forward, even with all the doubts and detours, you'll always end up further than you would have if you stopped and started searching for the perfect route.